The Lifestyle Show, presented by Selina MacKenzie.
Now, in his book, In the Beating Heart, Robert Choudhury explores how the heart has been represented over time and across cultures. He joins us now to tell us more. Welcome to the show, Robin.
Hi, Selina. Thanks. Nice to join you.
So, I know that you're a professor of cardiovascular medicine, but what gave you the idea to write this book?
Well, from time to time, people would ask me why I chose to be a cardiologist and cardiovascular researcher. And the easy answer was this conviction that the heart is the most important bit. And the book really is my long overdue exploration of why I thought that. And it turned out so many people over the years have had this intuition that there's something really special and really important and really life-sustaining, obviously, about the heart. And as I explored the possibilities, it just kept growing and growing. And the book starts with Aristotle and it ends with contemporary street art. And there's a lot in between.
So you'll have to explain to me, because to me, a heart is a heart. We all need one. It beats, it keeps us alive. So what differences have you found over the years and through different cultures?
Well, of course, you're right. But our appreciation of the heart being a muscular pump and maintaining a circulation came really quite late. So we didn't grasp that until the 17th century. But in the meantime, cultures from ancient India, old Judeo-Christian beliefs, ancient Egypt, everybody had an idea about what the heart was about, what it did, and why there was this thing inside your chest moving, and when it moves you're alive, and when it stops you're dead, and when you're alive and the heart's beating you're warm, and when it stops you're cold. And people attached all sorts of meaning to that, and that's really where I found the interest, not least because a lot of the things that we intuit about the heart historically, we still somehow seem to cling on to in our language and metaphor and idiom and book titles.
Yes. Now, I think one of them, the first thing that came to my mind is, how did the heart become associated with love?
Well, I think, the whole thing about the heart is the fact that it beats. And that's why the book is called The Beating Heart. And we have this relationship with our heart as if it almost exists apart from us. It's this thing that beats without any conscious input in our chest, and it responds in times of passion and fury and intensity. And it's almost as if it reports to us. It tells us what's going on. And that's true particularly in times of love and passion and so forth. And so I think there's this very physical manifestation of the feeling of love, and we attach it to our heart. And there's a name for it. It's called interoception, which is the sensation that we have of our internal organs, and the heart is probably the most important of those.
So you mentioned Aristotle. What did you learn from him then and from those times?
Well, Aristotle, in some senses, was one of the first biological scientists. He undertook some systematic examination of animals when he was living on the island of Lesbos. And searching for the origin of life, Aristotle looked inside an egg. And there, in a fertilized egg, sitting on the surface of the embryo, he saw the first stirring of life, which was the beating heart, little tiny red dot moving. And so Aristotle's worldview about creatures and where their energies and where the soul resided and what were the initiator of thoughts and movements was all concentrated on the heart.
Okay, and another one that came to my mind is Leonardo. Of course, he did a lot of heart drawings, Leonardo da Vinci. Do you cover him as well? And what did you find out from him?
Well, very much so. Leonardo is a highlight in a sense, because the things we've spoken about, the things we intuit about the heart, and the things that were written down really from belief came to a bit of a abrupt end, as it were, in the Renaissance, when people really started observing for the first time and looking in detail and challenging some of these old inherited ideas. And Leonardo da Vinci was the first person really that went to town on this and wrote so much down in relation to the heart. And if you look in his notebooks, you'll find that he dedicated page upon page to looking at the heart, and particularly the structure of the heart valves. And in fact, we had the privilege really of testing here in Oxford some of Leonardo's 500-year-old theories about how the blood moved through the aortic valve. So he'd conjectured that there were some swirls of blood that were analogous to what he'd seen going through lock gates that might serve to close the aortic valve, so the valve of the blood vessel that leaves the heart. But that had never been shown in a living person before. And in 2013, we did some MRI experiments that showed that Leonardo was exactly right. What he proposed existed right where he said it existed, and it did what he thought it would do. So Leonardo was a real game changer in this.
Wow, that's incredible to hear. And you must have seen a lot of changes, Robbie. I don't know how long you've been doing this job, but we've come so far. I mean, we can even do 4D mapping today, can't we?
Well, I think in cardiology and oncology are arguably two of the medical specialties that have had the most dramatic changes in the course of my working life, which is about 30 plus years. And, you know, the things that we can do both with drugs, but also, as you suggest, with imaging and diagnostics were really unthought of, unimagined when I first started doing this. And the rate of change now is incredible. So it's a really exhilarating time to be in medicine.
I'm sure it is. And it'll only get better and better, won't it, as research continues?
I think that's right. The pace of change now, largely because the technologies are so incredible, is really, it's mind-blowing. And so I think things that we could only, imagine, things that we spoke of as the impossible, like cures for cancer, are now things that people are approaching in some areas, and cancers that were previously completely untreatable with conventional immunotherapies, for instance, can now be dealt with quite effectively. So it's a very, very fast-moving and exciting place.
Yeah, I've been reading a few things. I'm sure some of them are myths, but I was reading about the ancient Romans who believed that there was a vein extending from the fourth finger of the left hand directly to the heart, and that's why we have a ring on that finger.
Yes, I've come across that as well. There are all sorts of bizarre plumbing connections. Another one that's in the book is that, surprisingly, there is a quite wide-held and intercultural belief that semen is made in the heart. And I could show you some drawings of Leonardo's where there's a pipe quite clearly going from the heart to the male genitalia. And that's because he'd inherited that. And if you read the ancient Indian Upanishads, you'll find the same theory.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Well, thank goodness you look at it from a scientific point of view.
Always, Selina.
Well, the book for our listeners is called The Beating Heart, The Art and Science of Our Most Vital Organ. It's by Robin Choudhury, who we're speaking to now, and we are selling it right now on our website. Robin, it's been fascinating chatting to you. Happy New Year, and thank you for joining us today.
And to you, it's my great pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.